Listo, Rick?
Ready? Yeah, we're ready.
Senor, well, let's get started. Senor Rick, once again, thank you so much for your time. I'm very excited about today. As I was telling you, my sister's a teacher. One of my best friends a teacher. Very excited. When I started following you, I was hooked in your content, what you do, the purpose, the passion that you do it with. So like definitely I have to have him on. I don't know if I told you this, but one of the reasons why I started this podcast is to highlight people doing a great job in our community, making sure that it's not only them that they're looking after, but also the bigger picture. And again, when I look back at what you do and how you do it, like this is the perfect definition of what I'm trying to showcase. So again, thank you for your time, Senor.
I appreciate that, man. It's nice to, I guess, be acknowledged, to be recognized for something like that. So I appreciate that.
No, of course. All right. Well, let's get started. Senor, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do. Give us a brief intro, por favor.
All right. I'm going to try to keep it brief. Born and raised in El Paso, Texas, Northeast. Have a lot of pride and a lot of passion for the Northeast. In El Paso, we get a bad rap in the Northeast, or we used to. People used to talk down in the Northeast. And they used to say things like the Northeast is ghetto, and they still do.
Oh, I was going to tell you that. I'm sorry. I was like, we still do.
And they still do, but...
Oh, yeah, they
But, I growing up there and seeing the people that come out of there, man, well, there's some good things coming out of the Northeast, right? Just like every part of the city. But, again, back to the Northeast. So I was born there, born in the projects, 5 brothers, 1 sister. In my family, no one ever went to college. So we never talked about college in our family. It was always about, you need to join the military because that's the only route for us. And I love my mom to death, and I think she did a great job with us. But that was how we grew up, right? Where there was really no room to dream. And it was just, if you don't do the military, you're going to end up dead or in jail, basically. Or you're going to be doing nothing with your life. So I made my way through public education, barely got by thanks to football, had to pass my classes, went to the military. I joined the Marine Corps.
Which high school did you go to?
Irvin High School, yeah, my bad. I went to Irvin High School, class of 05. All my brothers went there. My mom went there. My dad went there. We all went there. And then funny thing later is I ended up teaching there. But I joined the military. I had to be better than my brother and my sister. My sister joined the Navy. My brother joined the Air Force. And I said, oh, well, the Marines are a lot tougher. I mean, respect to all my branches out there, but that's just, it's a little rivalry within the branches, right? So I joined the Marine Corps. Then when I joined the Marine Corps, I thought to myself, okay, well, I like it. I like the culture. I like the leadership. I like what I'm experiencing, but I don't like the deployments, right? So I think to myself, what am I going to do after my 4 years? I did my 4 years and I decided to get out. And when I got out, I thought to myself, well, what is the best way for me to make an impact? And what is the best way for my life to matter, right? When it's all said and done, I want to say I did something that mattered. So I thought, let me try to be a teacher. So I came back home, went to UTEP, started boxing at San Juan Boxing Gym. I'm sure you know where that's at. Yeah. Rest in peace, Louis. And from there, Louis forced me to stay in college, right? This man forced me to stay in college. And he said, I know you're doing the college thing. I know you want to be a Golden Glove champion, but you have to stay in college. You have to stay in college because these kids in this gym, they need someone to look up to, and that's going to be you. So Louis became like a father figure to me, right? Father figure, best friend. I stayed in college because of Louis, and I graduated because of Louis. Then I became a teacher. And be careful what you wish for, because I became a teacher at the same high school that I went to, Irvin, and I met a bunch of kids who remind me of me, kids who have potential, kids who have a bright future, but they just don't believe in themselves yet, or they're doing just enough to get by. I was an ABC student and sometimes D's. I had to appeal for credit for almost every single class because I started ditching a lot. Back in high school, we had Juarez, right? So, so first, second, third period, it was sometimes I go, sometimes I wouldn't. And then from there, I did my administrative internship to be a principal at the middle school I went to. And the principal I met there, she said, hey, you'd be a really good candidate for this AVID position, which is a college and career readiness program. And I asked her, well, what is it? I have no idea what it is. And I read the program description, and that program is built to empower kids like me who are in the middle, who have potential, but they just need a little bit of help and a little bit of encouragement to reach that full potential. So as soon as I read that, I jumped ships and I went to the middle school that I went to. And I started teaching there. and I started coaching football. I started coaching track there, and I really fell in love with teaching there. I fell in love with teaching the kids from that community, from that neighborhood. I met kids who grew up in the same projects that I grew up in, right? I met kids who were messing up, but they were good kids. But, you know, some people had already written them off, right? And they just needed someone to believe in them. So I went back, I taught there, and then that led to becoming Teacher of the Year for some way, somehow.
Hey, kudos, of course.
They were crazy enough to nominate.
Which district are we talking about?
El Paso.
El Paso, okay.
Yeah. They're crazy enough to nominate me, and I tell them, like, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not smart. I'm just average intelligence. There's a lot of better teachers here, but if y'all want me to be it, then let's do it. That opened the door for more opportunities, right? And then I started speaking, right, doing little motivational. I hate calling it motivational speaking, but I started sharing my message with students.
After how long of you teaching?
I was already in for 5 years.
Okay.
It was my principal who actually pushed me into it. And she told me, you need to share your message. So I started doing it. And the first time I shared, she threw me on stage in front of 1,600 kids at Canoteo High School. So that was nerve-wracking, right? But I did it because she believed in me and because I wanted to help these kids out. And I always say, if I could reach one, then my job is done, right? You're not going to please everybody. You're not going to make everybody happy. But there's always that one person who might connect with you, who you might be able to help on their way. So that's why I did it. Opened up some doors, like I said, started speaking, started sharing my message a little bit more. And then I gave a speech to teachers in 2018 when I was the Teacher of the Year for the district. And they wanted me to share my story about why I teach. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm going to share my story, but I don't want to put them to sleep either. I don't want them to be bored out of their minds, right? Because as teachers, there's so many different meetings we got to go to, all the emails. So I thought to myself, how can I make this presentation meaningful? How can I make it worth their time? I don't want to waste their time. So I thought, why do I teach, right? And I put this message together. And as I'm putting it together, I'm thinking, man, I didn't teach to raise test scores, right? I didn't get into education to worry about data and to worry about test scores or to worry about lesson plans. I got into education to make a difference. So I told Orlando, my boy Orlando, he's here actually recording us. I told him I have this message that I want him to record. And the intent was, come record, let me view myself to get better as a presenter, and we'll take it from there. Gave the speech. Orlando immediately packed his bags. He got his stuff, and he dipped. He left. And he's like, Rick, this is fire. And I was like, no, let me see it first. And he's like, Rick, I'm going to have it done tonight. And it usually takes a couple of days, right? As you know, editing takes a long time.
For sure.
So that opened up a lot of doors, and you know, that speech ended up going viral. And that led me to where I am now, which is presenting to teachers and presenting to students full-time, virtually now, and then also a doctoral student at UTEP.
Nice, Senor. Well, I appreciate that. Let's go back a little bit. You said that after you joined the Marines, after you had your 4 years, you wanted to make an impact, right? Mm-hmm. That's the reason why you went to wanting to teach. What made you kind of click to, you know what, I want to impact someone? What was that moment? Do you recall like specific moment or something that happened that you decided to go that route? Because based on what you're telling me, I don't think you went out of high school thinking I want to impact. Something happened within, right? So talk to us.
Yeah, so there's two instances. When I was in Iraq, my family sent me DVDs. That's back when DVDs were still a thing, right? They sent me DVDs, and one of the DVDs in there was the movie Freedom Writers. I don't know if you've seen it. And I saw that movie, and I thought, damn, like, this teacher gets it. Like, this teacher, Miss Gruel, call her Miss G, she gets it. She gets that what you teach is important, but who you teach and knowing how to reach them is just as important. And when you look at those kids, they look like a bunch of kids from the Northeast. So I thought, man, this lady gets it. So that it popped into my head at that time, like, all right, in the future wise, let me see how I can like copy Miss G. And then right when I was gonna get out, I was at my 6 months remaining mark. This was the moment I decided, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. I don't want to say the rank, but the person that was above me, one of my superiors, he said, "You got 6 months left, Sergeant. What are you gonna do? You gonna stay in or are you gonna get out?" And I said, "Well, you know, I saw that GI Bill is looking kind of nice, so I might get out and go to school." And I'll never forget this, man. He turned around, right? This was in front of all of the Marines from my unit.
Okay.
He turns around, there's a door, and he knocks. And I'm like, the heck? And he does it again. And he said, this is going to be you. He said, within 6 months, you're going to be knocking back on this Marine Corps door because you're not cut out for college. And the people who were in that room, I still talk with them on social media so they can vouch for me. And I looked at him, I'm thinking, damn.
Wow.
Like, I'm coming to you for leadership, right? To speak life to me, right? To motivate me, to encourage me. And here you are telling me that I'm not good enough to do school. So I thought, at that point, how many kids back home have heard similar words, right? Or how many kids back home are thinking the same thoughts? Yeah, I'm not good enough for college. So at that moment, I said, yeah, I'm out. And I let my unit know, hey, I'm getting out. And I let my mom know, hey, I'm coming home. And at that moment, I was on a mission to come back and help those kids who are in that situation, right? Who think this isn't for them or that's not for them or whatever route they want. It doesn't have to be college, but whatever route they want because they don't believe in themselves yet. So that's when I decided to come back.
Wow, you said there was a second instance. What was that?
It was the Master
movie?
Sergeant. Yeah, the movie was number one, and then the.
Did this guy tell you because he was being honest with you, according to him, or was it a way to motivate you? What you think is?
Oh, he was being dead honest.
He was.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. He was being dead honest. He was calling people out, saying he came back in, and she came back in because the real world is hard, and you're not gonna make it. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is not cool. That's not leadership.
Now that you went to college obviously to get your degree for you to start teaching, when was it during those college years? Was it after that you knew that you had made the right decision? Do you remember a time that you said, you know what, I made the right decision. Definitely this is for me.
Graduation. College is hard, man. It's as you know, college is tough. But I don't think college measures how smart you are. I think college measures how hard you're willing to work.
Yep.
And just like any job, right? Any skill, any route you take. So throughout the whole college, I thought, yeah, I'm not gonna make it. But then I would knock on when I didn't want to study, I would knock on the table, and I was like, yeah, get your butt in the library and study. But I didn't know it was something that I didn't know it was worth it until I walked that stage, right? And the only reason again that I walked that stage is not because of me. I think I would have quit. But remember my trainer Louis from San Juan. Louis passed away the year before graduation. And the last thing I told him on his deathbed was, because of you, I'm going to finish school. Since you motivated me, since you believed in me, since you spoke life to me, because of you, I'm going to finish school and I'm going to graduate. When I walked that stage, tears were just falling down. And at that moment, I thought, yeah, the rest of my life, I'm going to honor Louis and I'm going to give him a return on his investment that he made in me.
Wow. And it's crazy because, of course, I did my research. I checked a lot of your podcasts, a lot of videos. And now that you're telling me this side of the story, like everything makes sense. It comes full circle as far as the reason why you're doing it, why you're passionate about it. But I want to go back a little bit because the truth is that there's two types of people, right? When they have a negative experience like the one you had, right? When you were exiting, the truth is that either they doubt themselves and they say, yeah, maybe you're right. Like I have always thought that maybe I'm not good enough for this. And now someone that I respect is telling me that. So yeah. And then they take it the negative side, right? In your case, you decided to use that as courage, to use that as a way to motivate you. And now you're doing that to make sure that you're that person that motivates them. Wow. That was so much respect for you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's go back to AVID. You said now you're an AVID, right? Mm-hmm. Talk to us about how long you were teaching AVID and then what happened after.
So yeah, AVID is advancement via individual determination, college career readiness. I was an elective teacher and the coordinator. So I had to teach, but then I had a bunch of other leadership responsibilities that went along with that, like collecting data and recruiting fifth graders. I posted about that today. And then training teachers on the campus on how to use strategies that kids actually like, right? Ways to make school fun and enjoyable, but then also we bring the learning part behind it, right? So I did that for 4 years. I taught AVID 4 years. And then that final year, the fourth year, is when the Teacher of the Year thing happened, right? And then the door started, the phone started ringing, right? With hey, come speak, come share. And then the video went viral. And then AVID, the actual organization, called me and they hired me to work for them specifically. So that was like a dream come true because when I remember my first AVID training, I thought to myself, I want to be where they're at. And it was the trainers who were teaching us how to teach this program. And it was just mind blowing, right? AVID is every school in El Paso, every school everywhere all around the world needs AVID actually. But yeah, I did that 4 years, and then AVID hired me on the Speakers Bureau, and also as a staff developer to train other teachers. And then the Ellen show happened because of the video as well. So all that happened, the AVID, the Ellen show, the viral video, all that happened in my fourth year. Fifth year. Sorry, my fifth year. My bad. But teaching AVID was 4. Yeah.
Wow. Senor, talk to us about the Ellen experience. Tell us, and be honest with you. Be honest with us as far as how much you won during. Yeah. Oh, I'm already thinking about the clip I'm gonna post. By the way.
So yeah, Ellen, man, she's the truth. Everything you see on TV, that's her. That her whole team is that way. Her whole staff. Everything about that show that you see on TV is them in real life, right? And I was there for 2 days, so I was just enjoying it the whole time. But anyways, she invited me to the show after she saw the speech, and I thought I was just gonna be in the audience. I had no idea I was gonna be on the show, right? So I'm sitting in the audience, and we did 2 episodes that day because they had to do 2 weeks. So we're on the second show, so I'm even getting a little tired, right? Like, oh man, I need a Red Bull. I hadn't ate that day because I was nervous, but I was still having fun. And then when that second show started, out of nowhere, Ellen starts her monologue at the beginning of the show, and then she says something like, "We want to honor a teacher from El Paso," and I'm like, "There's someone else from El Paso here." I started looking around. I'm like, wow, who else is here from El Paso? And she says, "Rick." I'm like, no way. And I put my head down and I got nervous. I almost cried right there. I'm like, there's no way she's calling me. Rick Ramirez, come on. And boom, I just immediately was starstruck, man. Like, I blacked out. I ain't gonna lie, I blacked out. I had to ask the producer, hey, did I do anything stupid on the stage? And she was like, no, don't worry, that happens all the time. She was like, you're great. But I played a game, Holy Roller. Ellen hooked me up, right? You have 3 chances to win the prizes, and the first prize was like $25,000. Second prize was $50,000. The third prize was $75,000, and I missed it by like an inch. And then Ellen and the other host, her assistant, right? They have a little conversation. I'm like, what's going on? And he says he wants to help me out. So they bring out some rails that basically guide the ball in for $100,000. Man, I've never seen $100,000. I've never even thought about having $100,000, and I'm from the Northeast, like growing up from humble beginnings, man, like that type of money, like you're rich. And then when I got the money, I had to pay some bills, and I realized, oh wow, that's okay. So my mindset changed after that in a lot of ways.
Wow, what were you feeling right after? I'm sure it was joy, surprise. I mean, it's so many things, I'm sure. What do you remember from that?
I was emotional, man. Extremely emotional. Well, Orlando knows I'm an emotional guy when I go out and speak and I share my message. I was emotional because one, I thought mom saw that, like, dang, like I got to make my mom happy. My brother saw that, right? And then where it really hit me was my students saw that.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm thinking, like, wow, like these kids from my neighborhood, from my part of town, from my classroom, they're seeing that their teachers. I'm covered in tattoos, right? You've seen. I got a sleeve of tattoos, right? No gang related tattoos. I just like tattoos. But they're seeing that this guy in their classroom, who's just normal, average person, right? They know I'm not like on the level of some of the other teachers. Normal vocabulary, love wearing Jordans to school, and they saw that it's possible for me. What's possible for them, and that's when I was like, yeah. You're doing something. You're onto something here. And it took a lot of people. It took Louis, and it took Ellen, right? It took Orlando. It took my mentor, Jennifer DeGraff. It took all the teachers that I learned from. But then it just took those students, man. Like these kids, I had a group of 50. I had them as 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And we called them Mr. R's 50 Stars. They named it Mr. R's 50 Stars. And I thought, dang, like for the rest of my life, we're going to have this memory together. Came right back home, and we had a watch party at Peter Piper. And I invited all of them, and we all watched the show together, and the kids were just happy and cheering. And according to them, their teacher's a celebrity, but we ain't that.
Wow, Senor. No, well, thank you for sharing. Now, going back a little bit to speaking, what's your purpose? I know you initially wanted to focus a little bit more on students, on sharing the message, making sure you motivate, which you still do. But now I believe you're focused a little bit more on teachers, so it seems that you're speaking more to teachers, right?
Yeah. So it's funny. It's funny how God works. I originally went into the speaking side to help kids, to empower students and to help them overcome adversity, to let them know, yes, your problems are relevant and they are important. However, you can get through it and you can get to the other side. And here's how you're going to do it. Right? And I let them know what I did. Simple things that we all learn, right? But they just want to hear it from someone who they can relate to, right? I don't go in with the suit and tie most of the time. I go in as me. So as soon as they see me, the first thing they say is, Orlando can tell you, "Oh, I like the Jordans, mister." And to me, or to everyone around, they're like, "Oh yeah, they like his Jordans." But to me, I'm thinking he's already gonna listen to me.
I'm connecting with him.
I got him right. They're hooked. So I started out with students originally. That's my main intent was students, because presenting to adults is hard, right? Kids will listen to you, and if they don't like what you're saying, they'll just turn you out. Adults will listen to you, or if they don't like what you're saying, they're gonna go talk about you on social media, right? Okay. Good point. So I thought, man, I don't want to do adults, man. These they're gonna. I don't look like a teacher from what everyone tells me, right? I don't look the part. I don't dress the part. They're not going to listen to me. But my mentor, Jennifer DeGraff, she said, no, they don't care what you look like. They care what your heart is at. They care what life you're going to speak to them. She's like, so you're going to share with teachers too. And then after that, next thing you know, I'm getting called just to speak to teachers. I'm getting called to speak to teachers, I'd say 80% more than I am to get called to students. But then when the schools call, I say, hey, while I'm there, let me talk to your students too. I don't want to forget why I got into this whole speaking thing. I don't even like my voice, but I got into speaking because of the kids. So I always tell them, let me go back to the kids, man. Even if you can't give me the whole assembly, give me 20. Give me your 20 toughest kids in the campus. The kids who get the most referrals.
You ask for that proactively?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I call it a tough teen workshop, right? And I get my toughest 20. And we have this powerful session where I'm vulnerable with them, and then they open up. Some kids have on the spot have turned in their knives. I spoke to a school in LA, outside of LA. Kid turns in his knife. Kids are going back to the classrooms, apologizing to their teachers, right? Because kids can be tough. Yeah. Kids going up to the principal, giving her a hug, saying, "I'm sorry. Like I've been rude to you for no reason, but it's not your fault. It's because of what's happening outside of this school." So I love doing that part too. But yeah, I get called mostly to talk to teachers now. And when I talk to teachers, I just focus on the importance of relationships in education, the importance of being a champion for your students. There's a quote from Miss Rita Pearson, the late great Rita Pearson. And then I give them strategies on how to build classroom culture, how to build relationships with kids, because kids don't care what your title is. Kids don't care how much education you have. Kids care about how you treat them. Yeah. Once you treat them good, you have a chance at reaching them, right? You have a chance at teaching them. So that's my focus with teachers, is reach them before you teach them.
Wow. And definitely that's so important, because I know maybe the one of your main focus, especially at the beginning, was students. But if you are effective at passing the message through the teachers, the chances of impacting more people, of course, is greater, right? So again, just hearing your story, I'm like, oh my God, that's such amazing story. And what you do, of course, your passion around it. Let me ask you, sir, going back to, you said all this happened within 5 years, right? Was there ever a moment that you said, maybe within the first year, second year, you know what, maybe teaching is not for me, a moment that you want to quit, or maybe you haven't had one of those moments?
I can honestly tell you that I've never had that. I never had that moment. As far as the workload, right, or as far as the pay, like for me, it was never about the pay, because for me, teacher pay was the most I had ever got paid, and I'm cool with that. I don't need much, right? Single man, no kids. I didn't need much, so I was cool with the pay. It was more than I got paid when I was in Iraq. So I'm thinking I got nothing to complain about, because I'm not working 7 days a week, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. I'm not in a war zone. I'm home. I'm at peace. So I never had that thought process until the last year that I was in education. There was a change in leadership, and I don't want to say anything bad about anyone, but that shift in leadership, the shift on focusing, the shifts went from focusing on kids to focusing on data and test scores. And that's not my style. Like, all the data and the test scores will automatically increase if you focus on the kids first. Yeah. When you do it backwards, no one wins and the data goes down, right? So that last year I thought to myself, okay, if schools keep calling, then I'm going to answer the call. So many schools were calling me in Orlando to go share a message that I had to go, right? I had to leave. And I told God, like, if this is for me, then show me, right? Next thing you know, the phone starts ringing and people are calling us in LA and in San Antonio, in Arizona, like everywhere. I'm just like, wow, like, all right, God, I see you. And, as a teacher, I can't leave that campus too much, or else it looks bad as a teacher. It looks bad for those kids. So I made the tough decision to focus on sharing my message as long as schools were calling. And to this day, they haven't stopped calling.
Nice, senor. As I was telling you earlier, my sister is a teacher. One of my best friends is also a teacher for special education. And yes, I see the work that they have to put in, not only within their 8 to 5 or whatever the school schedule is, but after the weekends. And I always tell my sister, you really have to love this, because there's no way that, for that pay, if you really divide it to the number of hours that you're working on this, why do you do it, right? And going back to that's why teaching is such a beautiful position or profession, because the truth is that anyone that starts, and correct me if I'm wrong, they start from the love of teaching, right? Now, my question is, what happens when some teachers make it an 8 to 5? Because I'm sure everyone starts with a passion, but then your message, I'm sure you're able to read out the audience. I'm sure you're able to read out some of the ways they react to you. What happens around the way that they just give up and they go back to making an 8 to 5 and it's not teaching with a passion, with a purpose? What happens there?
They forget their why.
Okay.
They forget why they got into education. And Inky Johnson says, people don't burn out because of what they do. People burn out because life makes them forget why they do it. And I switched that and I say teachers don't burn out because of test scores and because of data. Teachers burn out because they forget why they do it. And I get it. I was once they're struggling too, trying to focus on kids, and then they want the test scores to go up and they want data and they want this and that. So I get it. I get both sides. I understand it. But when you let people take you away from your why, when you let people tell you what your why is, when you let people tell you, nope, this is now your passion, then you're going to burn out for sure. And like I said, I get it. And my heart goes out to teachers all over the place, because it's a real problem in education. And teachers, especially now, right, with online teaching, and it's rough. And let me just go back when I decided to make the switch to pursue the presenting route full time. I was the current teacher of the year for the district, and then I was cut. At the same time, I was cut where I was told, you need to go to a teacher job fair because your position has been cut. I'm thinking, how? I'm the teacher of the year. You can't cut me, like, how's this possible? And when I read that letter, man, I was like, yeah, this is tough.
This is right after you were teacher of the year.
While I was teacher of the year.
Oh. Okay.
While I was teacher of the year for the entire district, not for the camp, but for the entire school district. And I thought, this isn't right. Not even a phone call saying, hey, let's put you where you want to go. It was just, hey, come to the teacher job fair. I went to the teacher job fair. All the principals I met, they were saying, what are you doing here? Are you here to promote the district? I said, no, I'm here looking for a job. Wow. Talked to 2 principals, and I couldn't do it. I left. I cried in my car. I left, and at that moment is when I said, all right, God, what do you want me to do? You want me to stay, or you want me to go do the presentation thing? I was like, and I trust you. And that's when everything else fell into place, like Ellen and schools calling, and that's when I was like, okay, I know what I got to do.
Wow. What are some things going on through your head, even though you mentioned some of the things where you thinking maybe that this award of Teacher of the Year is just nonsense? I mean, it's not really valid. What are the things going through your head as you basically are out of a job when they gave you the title being the best?
Yeah, it's a good question. It stung. It hurt. It kind of took some of the prestige away from it.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, if they're not going to have my back, they're not going to have nobody's back. Right? And I'm not saying nothing bad about anyone or any organization or any district, but I know as a student who studies leadership, right, I do have a master's in educational leadership, and I am in a doctoral program studying educational leadership. That's not the way you do business. So I'm thinking, what message are they sending to everyone else? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you just don't do business. Like, I would think I'm going to at least receive a phone call like, hey, you're the best teacher we got. Like, sorry this happened, but it's business, budget cuts. I get it. Cool. Let's help you. Where do you want to go? You know what? I told the school, I said, put me in alternative. Put me to work with the toughest kids on the campus. We don't even have a teacher there right now. We got subs coming in and out. Like, I can reach them. I wouldn't budge.
Why not?
Politics, leadership, politics. So yeah, I was hurt, man. I was hurt. I was crying. I did cry because I love that school. I love that campus. I love those kids. Oh, the kids. I had to let them know because right around that time they were already registering for their classes for the next semester. And when AVID wasn't on the choice slips, kids are like, "What's going on?" So I went to a school counselor. I said, "What do I do?" I'm like, "You tell me. Do I tell the kids? Do you tell the kids? Because they're asking." And she said, "Let them know." And when I told them, man, one of the hardest days of my life. These kids broke down.
Yeah, and I can just imagine you, of course, because you're already dealing with the adult side of it, the professional side, and then talking to kids, which I'm sure they respond. Some other responses, I mean, they definitely, you don't even know what's going on at the full range. Imagine them. So, wow. Yeah. No, senor. Now, let me ask you on your support system, because again, very difficult situation. What is it that you do when this happens? Is it that you think about it on your own? I know you have mentioned that maybe you trust God in some instances. What is something that you do that has helped you out, kind of like get into a positive mindset instead of like going down and going into depression mode or maybe like something negative?
Good question. So I think my mindset with that is, all right, kids, listen to what I say, yes. But more than listening to what I say, they're going to listen to what I do. So I thought to myself, what better way to show these kids how to overcome adversity? Not by my words, but by my actions. And showing them that even though you go through situations like that are not fair to you, right? You've done everything right. You get the award. You've done everything right. Life's still going to shut the door on you sometimes. That's how life is. I thought to myself, what if I show these kids how to overcome adversity by my actions? And that's kind of what I live by. So when adversity strikes, like, I hate school, man. I hate school. But when I feel like quitting, what would I tell my students? To keep going, to discipline yourself, sit down, turn off the Netflix, turn off whatever they're playing Fortnite and all that right now, right? Turn that off and do your work. So that's what I do. That's what I do. I say, okay, what message would I give to a kid who's in my situation with what I'm dealing with? And then I take that advice. You got to practice what you preach.
That's so true. As far as instead of complaining, instead of blaming someone, something, I have always said this. There's always a moment to do that, by the way, and it's healthy to do that. Go ahead and yell, cry, blame, whatever you want to do within, I don't know, let's call it 5 minutes. But then after that, okay, what are you gonna do? You have two options basically. Either you take the negative route or you go the positive route. And in your case, you're describing that you always go back to your why. And that's what helps you push it through, right?
The kids, man. That's yeah, you're right. Wow. Yeah, that's my why.
Ahorita I'm gonna start crying, by the way. And it's crazy how, as you were telling me this, like every single guest that I have had, that very successful, very passionate on what they do, they just share that mindset of, hey, I'm not here to complain. Or of course, everyone has a difficult situation, difficult time, but I mean, either I go left or I go right, and I'm always going to go right. So it's so satisfying to hear you say that, especially now that you have a direct influence on kids, or people in this case that influence kids. So again, kudos to that, senor. Let's move on into the educational system for a little bit. Senor, what is the best age you think for kids that we can still influence them? Like, is there any range that, okay, this is like the perfect age so we can positively influence them?
That question applies directly to where I found myself. So I've been in education in some way, some form, somehow, right? Some shape, some way. Since 2012, I started working at an elementary school as an after-school program coordinator. And I saw that at the elementary level, kids are very submissive. They'll still listen to you, and you can still, put fear into them a little bit. Hey, you better come here. You better stop running. And a lot of kids will do it. So I think they're still being molded there. And then after that, like I said, I started teaching at the high school.
Did you teach middle school? Is that also part of elementary?
No, that's elementary, middle, high.
Okay.
Yeah. So after I graduated and I stopped working the elementary schools, I went to the high school, right? I did my internship at Jefferson. I did some subbing and some tutoring hours at Jefferson High School. Loved Jefferson. Shout out to the Foxes, man. Loved Jefferson. Loved the kids. Loved the culture over there as well. And then after the following year, I went to Irvin High School. And some of the kids, they were, like I said, they reminded me of me. Some of them are already set in their ways. They're already so far gone. Some of them have never had anyone speak life to them, so they're already done, right? I thought, okay, well, if I reach the kids in the middle, maybe I have a chance at preparing them for that next level, which is high school. So that's when I thought, let me go to the middle school. And then when I went to the middle school, I realized, okay, so they're not as submissive anymore like they were in elementary school. They're not quite them full selves yet. They're still learning who they are. And I thought, what a perfect time to help them build their character, right? To build valuable skills that they need academic wise, but also personally wise. So for me, everyone's different. Everyone thinks differently. But for me, I think the best age to catch kids to really mold them for the future is middle school.
Wow. It's funny how I'm not an expert at all.
Neither am I.
But no, wait, you are in this case, at least from both of us here. And I always thought the same thing. It's in the middle school because once you're in high school, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. And when you're in elementary, we don't know if it sticks. I think for me, that's kind of like the age. Again, when I have conversations like this with friends, with my daughter, let's go back to teaching a little bit. What's the difference? I think you already answered as far as that teachers forget the why. But what are some other differences between good teachers and bad teachers? Or let's not call it bad, but maybe just passive.
Yeah, no, I like that. I've had to learn the hard way. You have to, with teachers, because just like kids, we don't know all their stories. With teachers, we don't know their stories either. So some of them may appear some way because of other things. But I think what separates a good teacher from other teachers is that a good teacher sees more than an ID number. A good teacher sees the human being first, right? Then there's this big push right now for Maslow before Bloom, which is your basic needs before pushing them academically. So I think really good teachers, great teachers, see human beings before they see students, and they see someone who needs to be motivated and inspired and even entertained sometimes, right? As a kid, I remember growing up and going to school, like some teacher would just put me to sleep, right? And it's not their fault, right? But I realized some of the best teachers are entertainers, right? Some are edutainers. Let's call that hashtag.
Wow, okay.
So they're high energy themselves. Like if you're bored as a teacher, your students are going to be bored. If you're mean as a teacher, you're going to produce mean students. So I think the best teachers lead by example. The best teachers would want their own kids in their classroom.
It's funny that you're saying that because when my daughter comes home and tells me about a negative experience with a teacher, of course I try to see both sides and everything. And then when I just can't defend what the teacher did or the names that she used or some of the things, right? I'm like, Elizabeth, don't even worry about it, because to be honest with you, that's this person, that's the teacher outside work as well. A lot of times we especially, I remember when I was going in school, I thought teachers were gods. Like we saw someone outside school, like, oh my God, look at the teacher, right? But then once, especially because the friends that I have that are teachers, like, they're normal human beings, but at that age, we think that they're like something else, right?
What are you doing at Walmart?
Exactly. No, wait. What is that teacher drunk? Oh, that's it happens. It happens, right? But then going back to those negative or those, I'm not gonna call it bad teachers, but maybe not the best. The truth is that it's not only that they're suck at their job, they suck at life too, and that's the challenge for sure.
And that's sadly or truthfully, you have that in every profession, right? In every field. It just sucks that sometimes you have it in a field that you're impacting the future. But yeah, they're in every field, and I think education has changed so much that some people who got into the education and it was a certain way, with all the changes that have happened, they're just like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna do my 8 hours and I'm gonna leave. And it happens. And that's why it's important for other teachers to really step in and be their champions, right? So Rita Pearson says that every child deserves a champion which is an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists they become the best they can possibly be. And once I heard that, when I was in college, that, I thought that's what I'm going to live by.
Yeah, that well said, because I'm sure you know this and you see it on a daily basis, is that I don't know the percentages, but a lot of times they don't have the right support system at home, right? Mm-hmm. Again, my daughter comes home, tells me stories about like friends of hers. And I'm like, no, I don't believe you. She's talking about one of her friends cutting herself. Not maybe it's someone else. I'm not gonna. Hopefully, you're not watching this. But like really stories about the mom not being there, like at a really competition that. And not because she was working something else, but that she preferred to go shopping. Or, I mean, stories that I hear like that, like, no, you're kidding. Like, I don't believe those stories. But then when I look back and really analyze, yeah, you know what? A lot of times, and that's the reason why I try to share the message of, you know what? Before you judge, before you start hating, think about the other side, because we never know. Even that person yelling at you or acting not the way they should, the truth is that there's a high chance there's something that you do not know about. And if you were to know about it, you would definitely understand that. So as a teacher, and that's why it's so important to have people like you that you get that. And you see it. I can guarantee you that you see it on a daily basis. You know what? This person has a good support system. This one doesn't. Regardless of the money, regardless of again, if that parent has money or not, it's the attention, the support system, and everything else that unfortunately, this is what they're going to need the rest of their lives. A lot of times I tell Elizabeth, I focus on school. I graduated college and it's really important. But what is more important to me is for you to know responsibility, for always have a positive mindset. To be honest with you, because she freaks out when she gets a B, for example. It's my daughter's a little nerd for sure. And you know what? I push attendance. She has had perfect attendance for 9 years straight.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, bro, like, and she A honor roll, and I really don't care about that. It's just that aspect. And when there's competition that she doesn't want to do for speech or whatever, you know what? Courage over comfort every single time. And that's, I can guarantee you, because she was. I'll give you more details after. I don't want to go into that story right now. But the truth is, my daughter was crying before this competition that she had. And she said, you know what? I volunteered because no one else volunteered for this teacher. And I felt bad for the teacher. But once she was doing there, I was going to go to the gym in the morning. It was Saturday morning. She started crying. And I was just saying goodbye. And I was like, hey, why are you crying? I don't want to do this. I'm scared. Because she's very shy, by the way. And I'm like, God, like this right here, because she was able to overcome that. She was able to do the speech, but what she told me, not that good, by the way. But the fact is that this right here, it's better than so many other classes like math or geometry or history. I don't know. With all respect, everything's important, but the fact is you're gonna get more out of this moment right here for you. You know what? I'm gonna take the challenge than anything else. However, and not to pride myself, but she has a good support system that she sees me working, going to school, even though it took me 6 years to graduate UTEP. But again, I don't want to boost myself or anything else, but she has that support, at least that example. And when I think about others, especially kids, they don't. So then figures like you that get that, by the way, that understand that like what you do, it impacts them. Not in that class, but outside of the class. That's why I was so excited to talk to you regarding this type of stuff, because you get it, and hopefully we can influence maybe other teachers that are on the brink of giving up or, you know, just losing passion of what they do. They don't understand that all those people hating on Facebook, all those people blaming on Facebook, all those people spending all day on Facebook. Wait, they're all adults now, but there were kids, and they never understood why they're like that. And that's why when I see something bad or people hating or something, like, you know what? I'm sorry, but it goes back to the story of, well, maybe a kid that you were way off, that you never got that support system.
Brother, you get it. You're talking. You're taking me to church right now. You want me to interview you now?
No. I get passionate about stuff like that because I see it all the time with kids, and it's sad when you're an adult. There had to be someone calling you out. There was a moment that someone called that out, right? And maybe you went the negative way, the negative route. You didn't go the right way, and but at least there was an attempt. However, with kids, they don't have that. That's all they know, That's and that's why it's so sad to see when they don't have, first of all, that support system. And it's sadder, I don't know if that's even a word, when teachers give up on them and they just say no without understanding. And since you get it, I'm like, wow. So powerful, man.
You're taking me to church right now. I'm telling you, you get it. You're doing a great job with your daughter, by the way. And you mentioned a couple things that I'm shaking over here at the table. I mean, you mentioned a couple things that just one, you're probably reading my mind, or two, we're just on the same wavelength. I do an activity with students when I go share in other cities as well. It's called "I Wish My Teacher Knew." Ooh. And when I do this activity with these kids, again, this is after sharing with them for a good period, and I'm vulnerable with them as well. They're writing these things down that will really, on the spot, as tough as we are sometimes, they will break an adult down. Some of these kids were, an example, and I won't mention any names, but One kid wrote, I wish my teachers knew that every night I go home, I see my mom and my dad fighting. And I tried to hang myself in my closet, but my dad caught me, and I have the paper still. Another kid, I wish my parents knew that I have so many emotional issues that I do cut myself. And when my parents saw me cutting on my arms, I started cutting my legs. And when I stopped having room on my legs, I started cutting my feet. And the responses break your heart, right? And I'm thinking, that's why he don't care about fractions, or he don't care about the Great Wall of China, or whatever he's learning about in any class, because he got all this going on. So we have to reach that kid first. We have to help them heal first. We have to greet them with love, right? And at least fake it. Hey, I'm happy to see you today. We're going to have a good day. Are you having a bad day? That's cool. We're all entitled to have a bad day, a bad morning. I have them too. I'm not going to call on you today, but can you at least do your work? When you come at them like that, like, all right, mister, I got you. And a lot of kids, they come up to me as soon as class starts. Hey, mister, I'm having a bad day. Can I just chill today? Like, I'll do my work, but I don't want to participate. I'll say, all right, I got you, but tomorrow, you're the first one up. And, make little deals like that, boom. And a lot of them snap out of it. Right, but I do that, right? And then the last one before we move on is, I don't share this anywhere, but the conversation is so good right now. I had a pair of twins I taught for 3 years. And they're Hispanics. We call them cuatas, right?
What's the difference between gemelas and cuatas? Not identical, right?
I don't know. Okay. you tell me.
I heard that one before. Like, you know what? I think he means gemelas, but okay.
So these twins, man, they are my why, and I will have a connection with them for the rest of my life. And here's why. During my lunch period, and this has never been out. During my lunch period, these kids come knocking on my door, and they got tears in their eyes, but they're smiling. So I'm like, what? Okay, what's going on? What y'all need? And they're like, we got to ask you a question. And I'm like, okay, what's up? Like, let's go. Come inside, because I know something's wrong. Come inside. And they can't talk. And I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, they're middle school kids. What the hell are they going to ask me? So I'm like, damn, like, girls, do you need a counselor? And they're like, no, man, we got to talk to you. Here's what they asked me. Long story short, one of them is brave enough to say, Mr. R, our quinceañera's coming up. And as you know, our dad's not in our life. For the past 3 years, Mr. R, you've been our father figure. And we want to know if you'll be our dad for our quinceañera. Woo, let me tell you.
Did you start crying?
Yeah.
Right there? Or did you wait a second? Oh,
I cried. I cried on the spot. I looked them in the eyes and I said, I wouldn't miss it for the world. I'm glad you see me in that light, and I'll be there for you all. And I gave them hugs, and we called parents, and I said, I got to make sure it's okay with mom first and grandma first. And they were on the phone like, yeah, of course. Like, they see you as a father figure. And some teachers are against that. But when I was a kid and I saw my sister at her quinceañera and my dad wasn't there, that's who I thought of.
That's why you remember on the spot. Oh, okay.
And that's why I said, yeah, I got you. I'm going to be there for you. And to this day, we still keep in touch. And I still talk to their grandma, and we're cool, man. So that let me know just how powerful our roles as educators are. Yeah. That let me know just how powerful it is to see young people, not ID numbers. Yeah. Right? Because we don't know what they're going, like you mentioned. We don't know what's going on at the house. 3 years of these girls, of when they got there, they were shy, right? Shy, wouldn't talk. By the time they're in 8th grade, they won't stop talking. But they did their work, and we built a strong relationship. And they worked for me at first, right, because of the relationship. But after they began to love the learning process, they stopped working for me and they started working for themselves. And that's when the magic of learning happens.
Wow, senor. I'm sure that moment paid up front, hopefully I'm making sense, for all your teaching career, for whatever 30, 50 years. Because, and hopefully I'm making sense of what I'm talking about. I was telling one of my friends that with my first 5 episodes, like the conversations we were having, the people that accepted the type of interactions that we're having, you know, that alone, that already paid me for all the times I mispronounce something, that I can't say something right, that I watch myself like, I can't believe you didn't know which word to use, or that I don't know, that already paid up front for all at least 50 episodes that I'm going to do, because that was so great. And it like, I felt it so good to I can't come up with a better word, that, you know, and I'm already paid up front for everything that I'm going to do next, right? So when you're describing this, I'm like, bro, you can always go back to that story And that's it. That's your why we're teaching. I'm sure there's plenty more, but that is so impactful for sure.
Happiest moment of my career, one of the happiest moments of my life.
Of your life, yeah.
It's again, it shows you how powerful teachers are, right? If they choose to be.
All right.
If they choose to be.
Let's talk about that, because you say if they choose to be, but do you think that sometimes they just don't know how?
Yeah, that could be part of it. Yeah, that definitely. I think sometimes some people come in with a mindset that I got to get straight to content. I got to get straight to the curriculum. I got this STAR test coming up. I have to be on track with my scope and sequence, which is the curriculum. I don't have time to do anything else. I have to do just content. I had this dream that I was going to teach these kids how to do math or history or science, and that's what I'm here to do. But that's where I come in and I say, hey, do you teach math or do you teach John? Oh. Do you teach science or do you teach Susie? Right? You're teaching Susie math. And on top of that, let's take it deeper. Are you really teaching them math, or are you teaching them life skills through math, through science, through history? And that's once you can make that connection, when you can bring it full circle, that's when the real learning happens.
Wow, that's so well said. Because as you're saying this, I'm thinking, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I'm sure there's people, again, if you go into teaching, 9 out of 10, if not more, they go with the passion of wanting to impact someone, right? Because I don't think they do it for the money. So I doubt,
definitely not for the money.
Yeah. Now, what I'm thinking now is that maybe after years of not having that moment that you see that you are impacting someone in a positive way, they just maybe give up and, I'm just going to teach or talk about this science or math, but because they were never helped with how to do that, right? And how to impact someone.
There's 5 ways.
Go for it. Give us the 5 ways.
Be a champ.
Okay, that was one.
It's an acronym.
Okay, there you go.
C, celebrate them.
Okay.
Celebrate what? Everything. Celebrate it. You came to class today. Thank you for coming to class today. How many times have your teachers told you, thank you for coming to class today? And that's how I start class every day. It's a celebration. Class, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be right here with us. Thank you so much. And then I say, we do this whole thing like, I respect you, class. I respect you too, Mr. R. I'm so happy to see you, class. I'm so happy to see you too, Mr. R. Give me 2 claps and Ric Flair. Woo! And it's fun. Okay. We're celebrating that they came to school. I'm going to celebrate that they scored their goals in soccer. I'm going to celebrate the fact that they got AB honor. I'm going to celebrate that he gave effort. I'm not going to celebrate just A's and B's. I'm going to celebrate effort, right? So that's the C. The H, humble. Be humble. Take off that teacher badge sometimes. Take off that principal badge and just be a human being with them. Let them know, hey, just like you struggle with anxiety and depression, I've been there too. And as an adult, I still struggle with it. But here's how I get over it. And here's how you can too. H, now we have A, approachable. Are you approachable? Right? What do your facial expressions tell kids? What does your body language tell kids? When you stand outside in the hallway, are your arms crossed? Don't talk to me. Get inside, sit down, do your work. Or are your arms open, giving high fives, giving dabs, giving hugs? It's a party going into my class. Kids know that. It's a party going into the class. We're doing high fives. We're doing, what is it called? The tunnels, right? Kids make tunnels for themselves. Because school should be celebrated, not tolerated. So that's the A. Are you approachable? The M is for motivate. You have to motivate your kids. Right? Si se puede. Yes, you can. You can do it. You didn't get it yet, but you'll get it tomorrow, right? You're not on track today, but tomorrow we'll get it. So the M, motivate. And there's so many different ways to motivate kids, but another powerful way to motivate kids, especially in the border region, is show them examples of people who look, sound, and sound like them. Show them examples of, again, whatever culture we're dealing with here, we're a Hispanic culture. Show them success stories of Hispanic people, right? You had Cingado over here the other day. Imagine having pictures of him in the classroom. Hey, he's from here. He's Hispanic just like you guys. Look at him. Been around the world. Millions of followers. Like influential person. So once they see that, like, oh, okay, now their brains start turning.
Possible.
Yeah, and then the last one is P. Just give praise. Give praise for everything. As much as you can, give praise. And there's a difference between celebrating and giving praise. Right? So when you give praise, when you praise someone, say, hey, John, you raise your hand, you got the answer wrong, but I appreciate you, dog. Like, thank you for trying. Like, hey, Jack, you got a 70 on that test. Better than a 60. Like, I give you credit. I praise you for that. Like, oh, you got a new haircut today? Kids notice. Like, oh, Mr. R noticed I got a haircut.
Don't get me started with haircuts. I have a, you know what? I'll get started with haircuts. But before we end the subject, I'm really hoping that a lot of teachers watch this, or someone that wants to be a teacher, because you're absolutely right. It's outside the books that you're gonna find more benefits, not only for students, by the way, but for yourself. I'm sure that you have a better day. Your day goes much faster by, again, having fun at school and knowing that you impact instead of just teaching. Even if maybe your attention is just reading out a PowerPoint, I'm sure that even your day, and you're happier as a person having that approach, opposed to just, I'm gonna just read out of this power slides.
And sometimes your testing season, teachers are in there, man. They're working hard. Like, teachers work so hard. Sometimes you just have your little champ printed. I didn't celebrate nobody today. Oh, boom, you do a celebration real quick. And was I approachable? Am I approachable right now? Just a little reminder, and then you get back into your content. But just remember, be a champ.
Wow, that's so cool, senor. Nice. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's get into the subjects of confidence, which is the haircuts that you said that students, like, if they're happy that you notice it, don't you think that they notice them themselves, that they look better than, like, with long hair or whatever it is? And the reason why it's such, and hopefully this doesn't sound as a commercial, even though I'm running a hair salon, but that's not my intent. If it sounds like that, please take them to another hair salon, because the truth is that I see how the kids' smile changes, because the parents don't bring them in 2 months, maybe a month, maybe. I mean, you can tell that person, that either boy or girl, needed a haircut like long time ago, right? And again, the reason why it's so important is because what people don't see is that they notice, and other kids notice as well, and their confidence, it goes up as soon as you see them, like with a once they get their haircut, it just immediate change. And again, going back to now that they want the teachers to notice, they want other kids to notice, like, they also know that maybe when they need a haircut, and when parents, we don't have that responsibility, that's something tangible. That was going to go to my next question as far as what parents can do. But if you allow me to give that advice, is, you know what, pay attention to that, especially in COVID, by the way, that, well, maybe I don't need to cut them every 2 weeks or every week. But the fact is that, like, you look good, you feel good, and that's an immediate confidence boost that's going to pay off in so many other ways that maybe we're just thinking that, no, it's a haircut, or he can wait. No, wait, it's more than a haircut. It's confidence right there. Okay, we get passionate about things.
Yeah, like you walk and talk different when you have a haircut.
Oh, definitely. By the way, I haven't had a haircut since pandemic, but that's a different story. Senor, now with the subject of parents, okay, what are some tangible things that parents can do to be, I don't know if more supportive, but have a bigger role in the kids' lives?
Yeah, for sure. Let me just put out there, one, I'm not a parent. So I have to make that disclaimer, because there's
you
always...
You are, in a way, by the way.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I got a couple hundred kids. But yeah, no, there's always that one person who says, he doesn't have kids. How can you? No, well, let me just tell you what I see work that other outstanding parents are doing. Some things that my mom did. And then some things that I just have conversations with my friends who are parents already, right? See them. Kids when I do I wish my teachers knew, a lot of kids don't feel seen by their parents. They go to school 8 hours a day. When they go home, sometimes parents are still working. It happens, right? Especially now, right? They have to work. But parents don't see them. The only time parents really care about them is when report cards or progress reports come out.
Or when they want to take selfies with their kids.
And then at that, it's a selfie and they're done. And let me post it on social media. I'm a good parent, and then they go. But see them for who they are, and just have real conversations with them. Like, put the phone away, put everything away. Something that I don't think happens as much anymore. And I mean, I might be wrong, but according to my own independent research with my students, people don't have dinner at the table anymore. Right? There's no more dinner at the table. And if you are doing that, great. Keep doing it, because it matters. Kids realize these things, right? But then at that same time, see your kid as the kid first, not the student. So many kids my parents are strict on me. If I don't get all A's, then they're going to be upset with me. And then they go to school and they have all this pressure on them, right? And it's good. Parents keep motivating them, like, be on them. But at the same time, sometimes we have to realize that, hey, kids are going to mess up. And when they mess up, at that point, it's important to build the kid back up, not continue to break them down. And I think that's what happens a lot. I actually asked one of my parents, I have the message right here. I asked her, when you had contacted me, I was like, hey, you're one of the best parents I've seen. And I had your kid for 3 years. What advice would you give? And here's yeah, and she was gonna come today too, but she had to work. So this is coming from one of the best parents that I've had. I've had her kid for 3 years, and now
before you read that, what define a good parent, just so we can be on the same page?
Oh yeah,
what you mean?
A good parent who knows that their kid is a good kid, but they also know that their kid isn't an angel, and they're not afraid to help put the kid back on track with the teacher sometimes.
Nice.
Right? A good parent is someone who, on the flip side, is not afraid to go stand up for their kid. Sometimes adults can be bullies. And I'm just being real. Sometimes adults can be bullies. This parent, she was there, right? I had a field trip. Anytime I had field trips, I took my kids to college all the time because it's important for them to see what a college looks like. I never saw UTEP until I walked on there as a student. So I take them to UTEP. She would volunteer to go. Volunteer. Like, hey, my son, I don't want to say names. My son's, his best friend's birthday is tomorrow. Can I please take donuts to the class or cupcakes? Like, hell yeah, come on through. And they come.
The best friend.
Yeah.
Wow.
The best friend.
Yeah, not even my son's birthday. Like
the best friend.
Wow, okay.
Anytime I would send letters home, that parent would respond. Anytime I asked for parent volunteers, that parent would respond. Right. And as busy as parents are working and taking care of kids, to still find time to be part of your child's education is a game changer. 2 years later, I haven't had him for 2 years. He still goes to my house to do my yard. I pay him, but he does my yard. And who's the one that set that up? With Mom. Hey, my son's looking for work. I want him to earn his money. You got any side work for him? Yes, I do.
Wow.
Yes,
Senor,
I do.
Go ahead now. Tell us what the advice is.
This is what what Gabby said. Gabby said, and this was her direct quote. Well, I would say parents who lead by example. For parents to lead by example, by speaking life and being active role models are beyond schoolwork. It's being a role model that will lead your kids to follow their dreams. Not what you want for your kids to become, but their dreams. I don't know if that makes sense, but being a role model, sometimes parents mistake it by teaching their kids to become what the parents' aspirations are for kids versus allowing the kids to follow their own dreams. I see that a lot. Sharing life experiences can lead kids to want to be different and make different life choices. That's my take on being an active role model. And then she said, if you need more, but
wow.
I love that she said, let your kids decide for themselves what they want to be. A lot of times kids are forced into like the medical field, and that's not what they're passionate about.
Yeah. One of my Elizabeth's friends. Yeah. Okay. Senor, and that was just so spot on because first we have to be a role model. And this is where, if I can give any advice, if anyone's willing to hear me, I agree. There's some tangible things that we can do right now, like haircuts. Make it a priority. Make sure that you set up a reminder every day, 30 minutes. Hey, let's have a conversation. I mean, there's some tangible things that you can do right now to start. However, you need to work you need to work on improving yourself as a person. And this is something I've been saying. You cannot be a good parent and a bad person. That doesn't happen. Or a bad parent and a good person. Like, no, it's all around. And a lot of times, and going back to what you said, we focus maybe on, we know that we're not doing good. We know that maybe I'm struggling with this. But then we put that pressure on our kids that, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. Because maybe that's what you heard is the right thing to do. Or again, that's what maybe you would want it to do in a perfect situation or scenario. Mm-hmm. But then we lose sight of, hey, work on yourself. Because then those other examples that you're yelling, that maybe you are out of a job, you're not looking for a job, you're hating on people, you're being irresponsible, you're whatever that is. Guess what? That kid is picking from that. So work on improving that yourself first. And then you can do it. I'm going to talk about something that I shouldn't, by the way. But the fact is that one of the things, like I was telling you earlier, I have custody of my daughter it's been 9 years. It's just me and her, right, living at home. And I had her when I was in high school. Shout out to Socorro High School, by the way.
Yes, great school.
And the truth is that, like, I had her when I was 17 or 18, right? And like I was still able to travel all over the world. I was still able to go to college, to UTEPs. Took me 6 years. And when I went around and traveled, the fact is that a lot of times I just had her mom take care of her, my mom, my sister take care of her. And I remember them at first telling me that, hey, that's, you now have a kid, so it's your responsibility. You need to do this. And by the way, I was leaving her with her mom. So it's not like, I'm not leaving her with a stranger. Okay. Or even with them, but sometimes I was, right? But it was very important. And I don't know why, to me, that I have to be happy in order for my daughter to be happy. Yes, maybe we missed that 1 week or 3 days that I was somewhere. But the fact is that once I'm spending time with her, you should hear our conversations. They go really deep. And a lot of times I see the other side. I now see the parents on Facebook that they're perfect parents, that they just focus on them. They have kids and 24/7. And then the fact is that most of the time they're on their phone, both of them, mom and dad. Yeah. And then you think about the conversations. There's a high chance that you're not. They're just spending time because maybe that's what they think good parenting is. But they leave around other factors that contribute to that. So again, my advice, if anyone is okay, dear, and my advice is, focus on yourself. Of course, there has to be a balance. Tampoco leave your kids for 2 years so you can travel the world. It's not about that, but understanding that, unfortunately, my situation, I couldn't change it already. I was a kid, but I also knew that, ¿sabes qué? I have to have a balance of what's making me happy, what I need to do. But now once I spend time with my daughter, and again, my daughter, it's everything to me, like you can tell the difference between, it's not only time we spend, it's the quality of that. But that comes after you're okay with yourself.
For sure. Yeah. I heard someone say, your kids are going to become you when they grow up.
Yep.
And maybe not career-wise, maybe not academic-wise, but who you are as a person, that's who they're going to be. So what you're showing them now is as far as who you are with your character, just as a person. And I'm not even talking about success or job or not, but who you are, your character. If your kid becomes you with your character today, would you be okay with that? And if you can answer yes, then you're doing a good job. And if you answer no, then it's okay. Then it's time to make the change, like you said. Right, because I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect parent. I don't think there's such thing as a perfect kid. But I do believe in progress.
Yeah, definitely.
Continuous, and then on top of that, the progress cannot be by chance. The progress has to be intentional. The growth has to be intentional. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Ahorita estoy llorando internally. Wow, we can get into the subject as far as when there's parents that they won't divorce even though because of the kids, but we can go into.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Anything else on that, senor? Before we move on, are we good?
Just shout out to all the parents out there. I know times are tough right now, and hopefully you take one good piece of information from this part. But I know parents have it tough right now because they're working, and then now they're teachers at home too. So shout out to the parents, y'all. Keep pushing. Don't give up.
Nice, senor. Nice, I echo that, so thank you. Now, still sticking with the subject of parents, what's the biggest challenge working with parents or dealing with parents? A lot of times my sister, not sends me, but when I'm at her house, she shows me some of the messages, text messages that she gets from the parents. And oh my God, I can just imagine. I'm sure you have pretty good stories. I don't know what kind of stories you can share, but what's the biggest challenge dealing with parents?
I think one of the biggest challenges... one of the biggest challenges for teachers and parents right now is the lack of parental involvement, right? For every Gabby that I had, there was 20 on the opposite end who I never met ever. Not one parent-teacher conference, right? Nothing like that. So not being involved, not being reachable, because for a teacher to hold a kid accountable, first we have to go through the whole process. We have to counsel the kid. We have to call the parents. The numbers don't even work half the time, right? But that could be an issue where we have to fix too as an educator. So I realized that too, like, oh yeah, I got some work too. I got to go get those numbers myself. But I think the lack of communication sometimes is a big problem. And then I think on the flip side is when sometimes teachers do too much. Sometimes teachers are sending home letter after letter, homework after homework. I need this sign, I need that sign, I need 5 hours of reading still, I need a parent signature. And that right there is going to turn parents off, right? So I think it works both ways. Like teachers and parents have to find a happy medium, a happy middle, and they have to meet in the middle and they have to be willing to meet in the middle. But it's going to take effort from both ends to actually have that dialogue, because there's a bunch of research out there, and I can't quote it exactly right now, but there's a bunch of research out there that when the parents are actively involved in their child's education, then their chances for succeeding in life they grow exponentially, right? That could be graduating high school. That could be in Texas. Let me tell you, 11 kids drop out an hour in the state of Texas. An hour. In 2018, according to
from high school.
From high school.
From high school.
Almost 95,000 students dropped out in 2018. Before COVID.
How about El Paso? Do you have those stats?
Not for El Paso. It was a statewide.
Wow.
But think of 11 an hour. That right there is heartbreaking. And right there, I'm thinking, okay, where was the parent and teacher teamwork to, hey, let's keep this kid in school? Like, and it takes a lot of work.
It's teamwork. It's not only
teamwork.
The teacher. It's not only the parent. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it is only the parent. But if they have really solid support system, but wow,
I sent a letter home to kids for parents. I said, hey, this is the project we're doing. Your student's going to be presenting a little bit about their background because we're trying to build the relational capacity in the classroom, and we're trying to establish a good culture in here. All your son needs is, if you can, a picture of them when they were a baby, because we like to laugh at pictures, right? And the kids love it; they have a blast. I got the letter back from the parent who turned it over, and she wrote in big letters, "I am tired. Stop sending me these letters. My son doesn't even want to go to college. Leave me alone." I have that letter saved too. I'm going to send it to you. I
feel like we can talk about this for hours. There's so many routes we can go.
I'm thinking, what?
Yeah, what are you thinking at that moment?
I had a couple college tutors with me, and I said, y'all, tell me he didn't write this. And they're like, no, that's not his writing. And at first I thought, how sad, right? Just overall. But then I looked at that kid, I'm thinking, damn, this dude needs somebody.
Yeah.
This dude, if he don't got it at home, he's gonna get it at school. Like I'll play that double role. I'm cool with it because that's my calling. That's what I'm passionate about. So I told him, I was like, hey, don't worry about the assignment. Like, you could draw pictures. Like, we got you. And he's like, are you sure, mister? I was like, yeah. I was like, don't worry about it. He's like, man, my mom yelled at me. I was like, it's all good. My fault.
How sad is that?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Now, analyzing the whole situation, I can guarantee you that parent had the similar interaction when that parent was a kid, right? And that's when we can go back to, okay, someone needs to break the cycle. And there has to be people like you that, hey, I know you've been walking the same way all your life, but look, there's a different path that you can take.
There we go.
That's why teachers are so important, especially good ones, of course. But wow, let's talk about college and kids. Is every kid should go to college?
No.
Okay.
Do I push for college? Of course.
Why?
Because, so here's what I tell people, or here's what I tell kids. College is not an automatic key to open the door to success. It's not. Facts. A lot of people with degrees are broke right now. But what college does, if you do it correctly, college will open more doors for you to get into what you want to do. Do all careers require a college degree? No. Right? There's barbers who make more than a lot of other professional careers, yep. Right? Especially more than teachers, right? A lot of barbers are making they're very successful in terms of how much they take home, especially now where a lot of barbers are, they're doing the new style and they're doing the designs and all that, right? Barbers are on a whole new level nowadays, right? But I don't think college is cut out. I don't think every kid, I don't want to say cut out for college, but I don't think every kid wants to go to college.
Should go to college. You don't think every kid should go to college?
It's tricky. I do see benefits to college beyond academics, beyond the degree. You learn, you grow as a person, yes. Right? You learn who you are, you learn who you're not, right? You learn about leadership, you learn about culture, you learn about how to work with other people. A lot of group work in college. Mm-hmm. You learn so you do gain a lot of experience from college for sure. But some kids think, the reason I say no is because some kids think if they don't go to college that society sees them as a failure, or society sees them as not as up on the totem pole as everyone else, and that's not true, right? I know people who go to the trade school, right? They go to the trade school, they go the military route, they go. What I tell kids is, I want you to go on whatever route you want to go on, but do it because that's what you want to do, right? Don't not go to college because you don't think you're smart enough. Okay,
that's a great advice.
Don't do this route because you don't think you could do the other routes. Let's figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life, and if college is in that plans, yeah, let's do it. Like I said, I do know that college opens up doors if you do it the right way, right? If you, I mean, some people, you get a bachelor's degree in underwater basket weaving.
Is that for real?
I mean, I hear it all the time. I think it's real. I hear it all the time. But, you know, some people go to school and they say, well, I'm going to go for, let's just say liberal arts, period. Well, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know yet. You're always talking about pets. Why don't you learn about veterinarians? You're always talking about how you love animals. Like, let's look at, so that was my job as an AVID coordinator, was to get them to see the different opportunities out there. And college was a big focus. And I think you do gain a lot of valuable life experience in college beyond academics, right? But I don't think that automatically qualifies you for being a success.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I not that I don't push college, but I tell my dad, as long as you know what you're doing and you're happy and you know the path. And because the biggest thing I took from college is being open to other perspectives, working with not only like there were Brazilian people, there were people from Africa, and that alone, that allows you to see different cultures, different ways to look at the same thing. So that is one thing I took away. Also, by me taking 6 years. Why? Because I knew that when I was going to start something, I was going to finish it. And that accomplishment, that confidence piece of, again, not the college degree, but the fact is that this is what I'm taking that it took me a long time, but I did it.
Who did you become in the process?
Exactly. And the same thing applies to everything. Now, what I tell my daughter now, it's being, like you said, being smart about if you're gonna go to college. Of course, you're looking for those things that I'm describing, but also networking. It's such a big role on that. I mean, there's ways. I mean, in my advice would be not advice. I'm sorry, but if maybe you can wait a couple years before. Well, this is when people don't go back to college. But the truth is that after graduating, maybe you still need to be a little bit more mature and have a vision, and then after that, go with it like 100%, right? But that's another story.
And there's people on both sides of the spectrum. There's people who say college. And then there's people who say college is dumb. You don't got to do that. No, like some people meet the love of their life in college, right? Yeah. Some people, they discover who they really are and what they're really meant to do in college, right? So I think it's just knowing who you are, knowing what's best for your situation, and not letting whatever you decide or not decide, not letting other people determine who you are because of that. Like, do you. Like, do what you want to do.
Yeah, but that's such a great way to teach students that do not say that college is not for you because you don't think you're good enough, but that it's not going to bring you anything, because the fact is that it will for sure. But then again, and that's why we need you. Senor, let's go back into the schooling system. If you had it your way and you had the option, what were some of the things that you would change immediately?
Some of the curriculum.
What does that mean? Describe that.
What's taught in schools.
The agenda, is it the scheduling? Everything?
Not necessarily scheduling. The subjects is what I guess what I would call it. There's a lot of things that we end up data dumping that we learn. I can tell you right now, I've never used pi in math, right? Pi is 3.14. I've never used it, probably never will. And if I do need it, there's a calculator. Right, I'm not knocking math, so teachers don't beat me up. But instead of going into like, let's teach the fundamentals. Yes, we need the fundamental math, fundamental reading, fundamental everything fundamental. Let's get that fundamental knowledge down for sure. But then let's really teach kids about things like how to really credit. Right, what is a credit score? Right, a lot of kids are going. As soon as they hit 18. And they get that first job, they're going to start getting those letters to, hey, here's a credit card. And a lot of them accept it. And a lot of them go into debt. And when they become, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s, when they want that house, because of the decisions they made when they were 18 with those credit cards, they can't get the house.
Yeah.
So why don't we have a class on real financial literacy in depth, and not just one semester, but it still be something that's incremental, that grows. And your junior year, we're going to focus on this. Senior year, we'll focus on this. Let's talk about how to, what is the process of buying a car? All right, what is the process of what do I do to buy a house? I was 29 years old when I bought my house. Had no idea what the hell I was doing. I was never exposed to that. My family was never, we didn't have that experience growing up. So I was never exposed to that. But why can't we do that in schools? I guarantee you some kids will show up to that class more than they'll show up to some of the other classes. You know what I'm saying? So everything that's taught, I think what we need to change in education too is we need to start teaching the truth of American history.
You lost me there. Go for it. I'm sure it's a good conversation coming.
These textbooks were written, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but These textbooks were written to preserve a certain culture and a certain race innocence, and to preserve white supremacy. Columbus is painted as a hero, okay? Yeah. And people have their sides, right? He's painted as a hero, but when you look at what Columbus really did, I'm talking about the evils. It's nowhere to be found. It's not in textbooks. So what I did like I said, I taught history at Irvin. What I did, I said, okay, here's what the textbooks tell us. Here's what it says. Now I have these other primary sources from people who were there.
Verified sources, of course.
Right. Here's what they're saying happened. Raping people, they raped villages, right? Rape, murder, right? Releasing bloodhounds on the indigenous people. None of that is in American history books, in public education. Why? Why is Black History Month just 1 month? Why is it not just history? Why can't we include Black history as regular history?
Wow.
Why? Because the system is designed to preserve a certain...
What's holding the change? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have pointed this out, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with it. What's holding all these changes from happening?
Policymakers. And I say this with full confidence because I'm in a policy class right now. Policymakers, the people who are at the top, who are in charge of passing the bills and passing the laws for educational policy, they're not educators. They've never been in education. They have very few ties to actual educators, and they hold the most influence in getting the legislation passed. Educator groups don't have as much influence, and we're in the trenches. But if we want to say, hey, let's change the curriculum, we're down. No one's going to listen to us because we're not at the top of the political totem pole, if you will. But policymakers who have some type of political ties with big test-making companies who are making millions and millions of dollars off of these standardized tests, who are just driving kids crazy and driving teachers out of the field. It's all policy.
It's so crazy because if we go back to schooling as a whole, it's a business. Districts get paid for students, for their attendance. So then why is it that, because that's not a bad thing, by the way. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing that we're supposed to just not do it. Like that's a good approach. But then we're supposed to be also as parents to be able to hold someone responsible, not only for results, but that change that you're talking about as well. Right, because that's, I guess, when it gets lost at the beginning. Well, at the bottom, it is a business, but then it gets lost that now it's an educational system that who knows who changes that, like who has the final say to, hey, you know what, let's rewrite all these books. And me as a parent, which I'm a stakeholder, but again, it's my daughter, that whatever it is, the truth is that, okay, so that tells me maybe there's some opportunity for me at least to get involved more on that. And again, and maybe not to see the immediate change, but when we see, because it does matter, and that's why I love to have these conversations, because maybe we see it as just a subject that, oh yeah, books should be changed. But I mean, there's what happens when that gets changed, especially with everything going on. I don't know who I was talking about. Was it Joey, who's about to travel the world, by the way, and on a motorcycle? So I would really recommend, if I was in some stand of power, to have high school or even middle school for them to travel out of the country and stay there for a full school year. Con eso, ya se quita. There's no racism with that. If it was mandatory for you to go, hopefully, to a third world country, like, I can guarantee you, nada de eso racista, nada de, oh my God, we're the best. Bro, no one's the best. Like, we all live the same way. But again, that's why that book, the different perspective on it will, again, even though we're just talking about it briefly, but will make such a great impact and will deliver other results that maybe we don't see right now, but they're so important.
That's how we start change.
Okay, talking about it.
That's how we start change. You can't change where you're going until you know where you're from.
Yeah.
And a lot of us were not, I didn't learn real history until college. And when I got to college, I was like, no way this happened. You're crazy. Columbus? Like, we have the day off because of him. No, he was a pretty evil man. And
I'm sure there's so many other instances like that.
Yeah, so many. So many more.
That's one of the biggest example. Pero bueno, señor, that was very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. Let me ask you something else as far as standardized testing. Is that something that you would also change, or do you agree with the way that is set up?
I don't agree with it to an extent. I think we put too much weight on it, right? Kids are literally having anxiety and panic attacks before the test. They're 6th graders. They're 4th graders. That's not cool on any level, right? Teachers, these standardized testing are taking the passion out of teaching. And that's why a lot of teachers are leaving. And that's why a lot of teachers come upset. And maybe they appear to be a bad teacher, but they're just so done with the system. With now we're teaching to a test. And teachers are fed up with it. So what I think testing let's test to an extent, but let's not put so much weight on that test and then go out and report to the whole district and to the whole state, to the country. Well, this is a C-level school, and then the school on this side of the tracks is an A-level school. Well, when you look at the economic differences between this side and that side, they have more access to things like internet access, for one.
Yeah.
Right. So standardized testing it misses the true point of education. It doesn't measure progress. It doesn't measure progress at all. Right. It doesn't measure things like real things that are important in life, like character traits. Right. It doesn't measure things like grit. It doesn't measure things like emotional intelligence.
Oof.
That test is missing the mark on so much, where I wouldn't say completely abolish it. I honestly would say that, but I know we can't do that because we still have to have some sort of, let's check the learning, right? Let's use it as just a benchmark. Well, this is where we're at. Cool. Let's get better at that now. Not necessarily this is where we're at. Your school is now going to be taken over by the state because of low test scores for the past X amount of years. So get test scores up, or else TEA is the Texas Education Agency. They're going to come in and they're going to run the school for us. That's not cool. That's not doing anyone any favors.
No conozco a nadie that is in favor of standardized testing. I don't know anyone that says, you know what, this is a process that's working. Everyone knows that everyone's teaching to that. And again, we understand, I understand teachers that they have to, because that's basically what they're told to do. Well, so many things need to be changed in the educational system. Why isn't it changing fast enough?
Because certain people are getting money off of the educational system, that if we start making these radical changes, then some of these billionaires are not going to be billionaires anymore, or millionaires probably.
No, señor, pues keep up pushing. I'm sure little by little there will be something. I want to lastly talk about something that you brought up, which is really important. Aside from the subjects that you said, that yes, definitely we should teach kids on taxes, on budgeting, on finance, like real finance, not only like a one class. But one of the biggest things that I think it's missing, and I heard you talk about it already, is the emotional intelligence. You have no idea how many people I know that have their bachelor's, their master's, even, I'm going to say a lot, their doctorates. But the truth is that the first breakup, their first divorce, and they're lost. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, they went to college, and yeah, they had good grades and everything. But education now, I don't think I'm not going to say nothing to do, but it's a very minor role in how you handle things, right? We always complain about the people complaining on Facebook, the people throwing hate, the people that are there all day, the people, okay. But you know what happened is the result of that side. So why is it that no one has paid attention to that side of like teaching and of the importance of having that in school?
Because it's not tested.
Okay.
social emotional. I'm big. That's a lot of the reason why schools bring me in to present on social emotional learning, emotional intelligence, presenting on different strategies to use with kids. All right, my nephew, I just read a book with him yesterday. It was called Yanni the Yeti. It was a kid's book designed to help kids have a growth mindset and work on their emotional intelligence, right? And how to control their emotions when they fail at something. This Yeti couldn't tie his shoes. He was crying and he was frustrated. And I asked my nephew, have you ever felt like this Yeti? And my nephew says, yes, I can't tie my shoes. And he's like, I said, have you started crying over it? He's like, every day. He legit cried. I said, okay, let's see what the Yeti does. And then this social emotional kids book teaches them how to have a growth mindset and how to say, you know what? I don't know how to tie my shoes yet, but if I keep practicing, if I have a positive mindset, and then there's so many different like steps that the author included, Katie. And once I showed my nephew that, we went to play football at night, that same night. And he dropped the ball and he told me, I didn't catch it yet. I got to practice to keep getting better. I said, it's just like that with math. So if we have even just a book, a little tiny book like that, because you're right. The kid who is an all A student, the kid who goes off to be academically successful, but does not have the ability to manage his or her emotions, we've set them up for failure.
Yeah, they had to. And there was, like, in this case, most people don't have you as a figure that someone that read that book. I'm not saying that the parents are not doing a good job, but just as an example, that there's a lot of times that they don't have that other perspective hearing that perspective from someone else. And it's not their fault. We can blame them for not having that. But then, like, what is it that we can contribute to the cause, right? So, like, wow.
And there is a push for it. Social emotional learning is a popular buzzword right now, but it's the first 10 minutes of class. And it's another thing thrown at teachers. And the teachers are not properly trained in social emotional learning. So teachers are just like, yeah, read this paper and I'll see you in 10 minutes. Some of them, not all. It happens. Like, it happens everywhere. But it has to be more than just an initiative. I just tweeted it recently. Social emotional learning has to be an actual course that kids take for the whole entire education career. And then when that breakup comes, when they're adults, they know how to handle it. When the job loss happens, like what happened with me, they know how to handle it. Right?
Yeah, they had to, for sure. When they just separated from their boyfriend, they're not posting 5 updates every hour because they had to parece que no. Pero yes, a lot of people, and I have friends, hopefully they're not hearing this, that will say, no, that's just my Facebook. What I post on Facebook is not the real me.
Oh, that's a cop-out.
Oh my God. They go, no, that's not everything we do, everything. Even the way I raise my hand, there's a reason behind that, right? Yeah, so if you choose to spend 4 hours talking about this or responding to negative comments or fighting on Facebook, no, it's not your persona outside that. That's you.
That's you.
But when
social media is the modern diary.
You posted something that was very powerful. Something about, what is it? Parents, if parents checking their grades more than their.
Oh yeah,
what was it?
I said it said, dear parents, check on your child's grades just as much as you check your social media. That's powerful.
Nadie tiene tiempo de nada, pero somehow we're spending, including myself, time.
All of us, all of us.
What?
And that is who we are.
Yeah, 100%.
We don't. Do we show every aspect of us? No. Like, for me, I try to keep mine very positive, but for the most part, that's me. I'm gonna keep my negative stuff to myself as much as possible because I don't want to spew out negativity, right? I think it just looks bad for me as an educator, for my brand. Will I post some real stuff like that? Yeah, but like negativity, I try to keep that away. I'm not gonna go home and post, oh, I'm feeling depressed today. Like, no, like, I know how to deal with it now that I'm an adult, right? Now that I've had social emotional training, I know how to deal with it. But other than that, that's me. Like, who you see on social media, that's who I am.
Well, let me ask you this: is there added pressure because of the role that you play? Obviously, Teacher of the Year, and also that a lot of people see you as an example that you're still a young guy, right? You still hopefully go out and party and everything. Is there pressure of, oh, I have to act a certain way, or I can't have this happening because then it's going to affect me this other way?
For sure. Yeah. I didn't get it when I first started. I refused to buy into that. I said, I'm doing my thing. As long as I do a good job at work, I could do whatever I want out in public and out on social media. And here's my take on it now that I'm a little more mature, more wiser. Now I realize that I'm a role model on campus, but I'm also a role model at the store. I'm a role model on social media. I'm a role model at the mall, right? And as a teacher, we deserve to have lives too. Yes, 100%. And trust me, I got a life outside of teaching. Don't get me wrong. But I don't have to post every time I'm chugging a beer. And I used to when I was young and thinking that I was invisible. But then I realized, damn, like, some of these kids have seen my social, because I have mine open. And I have some of their parents, because some of their parents were my classmates in high school. And when a kid comes and say, oh, hey, mister, you were drinking a beer for the Super Bowl? Like, it's just not a good look. Yeah. So as an adult, I enjoy myself still, but I also keep in mind, I don't, not to sound all like high and mighty, but educators are role models outside of that school building too. And the worst thing that happens, and it's happened, is going to the store, buying a 30-pack, and you hear, hey, Mr. And then I turn around and I'm supposed to teach him on Monday about being responsible.
You're not doing anything wrong.
Not doing anything wrong.
You know?
But I get it, right? And I get, like I said, I get both sides. And, it took my friend, we call him B. Again, when I first started teaching, I used to be a club promoter in college, let me tell you. So I had all my party stuff up there. And if I would go out and have a good time with my friends, then I was that guy who was, we'd take a picture of our food. Well, I was taking a picture of my drinks and doing the club promoter thing, right? And then my boy B was like, bro, like, you're a teacher, dog. Like, my son could have you in his class, man. Like, what would my son think if he saw your social media? I said, damn, bro, you're right.
Now, give me a second, though. I'm going to make the argument because I really think that that's wrong, though. Because if you have emotional intelligence, you should be able to separate both. Mm-hmm. Oh, perfect teacher. You know what? Yeah, this is the role, and trust me. And I will not lose respect if I see you drinking a beer.
Right.
But because they're not handled that way, because, again, we don't process it that way, we then label, oh, okay, well, I guess, he's a drunk. But I mean, what happened over here on this side, right? Mm-hmm. So, again, this is a very touchy subject because the fact is, you're right. You're a role model, and there is that pressure, just like you've been talking about. But in the perfect world, when everyone has, like, the emotional intelligence, the truth is that you should be able to post whatever you want. Right. And the truth is that whoever's on the other end should be able to set apart. Oh, okay. He's a great teacher, the best person ever. Oh, and right now he's drinking 30 beers by himself. And that's it. Right. Yeah. In the perfect world. But because of that, then we're adapting to that world. That's my opinion.
And some people can. Some people are very, I don't even know the word to say, down to earth. And they say, oh, yeah, you deserve to have a good time. Like, you put up with our kids all week. Some people are like that. But then on the flip side, some people aren't. Some people will say, well, why is your teacher, they'll go to and this happens, they'll go to the principal and say, your teacher posted a picture of alcohol on a Tuesday night, and they're teaching some people, so in my mind, I'm thinking, I get both sides, but I'm thinking, man, I'd rather just play it safe than to deal with anything else.
Deal with them.
Right, and then had I not cleaned up my social media, I deleted, like, from my clubbing days, from my club promoter days, I had, like, crazy pictures, like, I was a club promoter, I was doing the club thing. I deleted over 300 pictures. Let me tell you, the thing with Ellen, it took 8 months for me to get to the show. They contacted me in August. I didn't get there until May. And I was like, why? So since August, I had this big secret that I was in touch with Ellen. They're looking at my social media. Who is he? Yeah. Who is he really? Like, we want to see if you're that guy from the Why I Teach video. Or had I done all my partying videos, right? They don't want that on the show. So I'm thinking, dang, like, for me, it paid off. And you're right. Like, we should, and teachers do have a good time. Teachers have a great time.
Trust me. I know that.
Yeah, but I'm just very, especially with what I do, I'm very careful and intentional with what I post. And the way I post now is, if it's not positive, I don't post it, right? Because for my role now, that principal in another city, another state who wants to hire me, because in the education field, I'm only 2% as a Hispanic male educator, less than 2%. The education field is predominantly white females. And then at the very bottom is Hispanic males. So I'm at the very bottom of the totem pole when it comes to diversity in the education field. The chances are high that person might not hire me, even more just because of my skin color, right? Because I can't relate to their teachers. But then they see me drinking, so they're like, yeah, no. So for me, I just play it safe.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, but hopefully, eventually, we'll get to a place that, this is him right here, his role. This is me doing this. But of course because we all understand. But again, why deal with that to begin with? Wow. All right, Senor, I have to ask some questions on COVID for sure. I know that you're not teaching right now during COVID. Again, major respect for the people. I saw one of my nephews. He's 3, 4, 5, not sure. But I have my daughter's on her own. She goes to the office, and I don't even see what she's doing. So I know she's doing good. But then my nephew had to be there, and then again he's like 4, 5. And I saw the teacher having, like, how she was able to handle a room. I don't know how many kids, 8, 10 kids. Mm-hmm. With some of them not paying attention. My nephew, I want to turn off the camera. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm already here, like, going crazy. I can just imagine dealing with that and dealing with the parents of that class. So major respect to that. Let me ask you, in your experience, so from what your peers are telling you, during COVID, what is the percentage, if we can just put a number here, of the learning in total? Like, is it the same learning experience? Of course it's not, but is it 50% of what they should be learning? What is it that our kids are missing now during COVID because of the circumstances? It's no one's fault, but can you put a number, a percentage there?
I honestly can't. I see arguments for both sides, from teachers, from educators. Educators are all on Twitter. That's where educators do their educator talk, is all on Twitter. And some of them are going on there and saying there is no learning loss. We're still working our butts off. We're still teaching. There is no learning loss. The kids are still learning. They're still where they are. And then there's the other side who says, yeah, there is. There's no way they can be learning the same way that they were before, and those learning outcomes being the same as they were before. So I see arguments for both sides. I can't say, but what I can tell you is that there is an issue with kids not logging on for whatever reason, right? And some of them, they don't have that person at home to keep them logged on. And as an adult who's in night school, there's times where, oh man, I hope my professor is seeing this, but there's times where I turn off my computer, right, my screen, and I'm like, yeah, I just need a break. Like, I can't do this for 3 hours a night. You know what I mean? So I for a kid to do it 8 hours, like I get why some kids don't log on for 8 hours, and I get why some kids don't even show up sometimes. Like, I get it. So for those, I can say, yeah, there's definitely a learning loss for sure. But I can't pinpoint. I can't even give an estimate because I've seen equal arguments for both sides. All I can really give a vouch for is that I know teachers are going above and beyond like never before right now. And I know their job is harder than ever before right now. And me, just even as a presenter, presenting online to blank screens is tough. It's so hard. Like, who am I talking to? Right. So my heart goes out to teachers. But like I said, I know that they're going above and beyond like never before.
Yeah, for sure. And trust me, I know that situation. I give several trainings for work. And when I always try to turn it on, because there's sometimes I was like, okay, I'm not going to turn it on for this one. Yeah. But then when I present something, and usually in class, I throw in a joke or something to break the ice, at least I see some reactions. Yet I don't. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
It's so different for sure.
Different. There you go.
Pero bueno, señor, within COVID and school, do you think there's a pressure from the state to have school districts open up right now? Again, I don't even know what stage of the pandemic we are right now. I see that there's some schools that are opening but then closing back. You think there's that pressure from the state, or I don't know from where that is coming from?
I think it's coming directly from the state.
Yeah.
I think a lot of schools did move to open. A lot of teachers don't feel safe in those buildings. I don't blame them. Right. And I think when they made this decision to go back to campus in person, and some are hybrid, right, where there's some kids are in person and then some kids are still virtual. But the point is, people are still in that building and they're in a room that's poorly ventilated. Right. And they're with kids who are coming from, who knows where these kids are coming from. Right. So what I'm saying is, when they made the decision to go back to the campus, they left the most important people out, who are teachers and parents, from being part of that decision. Teachers don't have a choice. They have to go back. There's a teacher, Mr. Reed from Chicago. Chicago right now is snowing, and he said, I'm not going in that building because I have a wife at home who's about to give birth. I'm not going to go into the building. And they said, well, you have to teach from the building. He's teaching outside in the snow. He has his blanket, he has his computer, but he's outside of the building. And the entire Chicago public school system they're all going crazy right now because a lot of teachers are on his side, and then the state is like, no, you got to get back, right? So it's crazy. So there's teachers who are in that situation, but I think that it's coming directly from the state. But I think that a lot of people or a lot of systems messed up was not giving teachers the voice, not giving them an option, really, right? And a lot of my friends are teachers, and they are pissed.
Yeah.
They're mad because someone in their classroom gets COVID. The school sends home a letter to all parents saying someone at the school had COVID. They can't say someone in this specific class had COVID. So your kid might be in school exposed to COVID directly in that classroom, and you don't know for sure. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation for everybody because it's our first pandemic, and of course, I'm sure for the state, there's a reason behind it. Hopefully, a good one. That who knows? I don't know what that is. But well, I just want to touch base on that because I'm sure my sister at least will tell me. Well, as far as, hey, did you ask anything on COVID? Pero bueno. Señor, I have enjoyed our conversation very, very much. I really feel that we could stay forever, especially with some beers, which I don't have. I apologize for that. Pero let me ask you my last question.
Yeah.
This is the same question I asked every guest. So think about this one. What is one thing you love about El Paso, and we cannot say food, and one thing that maybe you would change of our city?
That's a good question. I think El Paso has some of the most loving people, right? When stuff hits the fan, El Paso comes together for El Paso, right? And I say it all the time, especially in the Northeast. Like when we go out, people know who the Northeast people are because we always stick together and we always have each other's back. But I think that goes for the whole city, right? For the past 9 years, I've done a backpack drive that is specifically designed to give back to the Northeast. But people from all over the city show up with backpacks and monetary donations, and we're able to give back to kids in my neighborhood, right, in the Northeast. But the donations are coming from the east side, from the west side, Lower Valley, from everywhere. So they're coming from all over the city. So I love El Paso. I have El Paso tattooed on me. That's how much I love this city. So the people, right, the camaraderie that we have. And we have some knuckleheads. Every city does, right? We have some knuckleheads for sure. But for the most part, El Paso strong is a real thing. Right? We are El Paso, and it's strong. And you have it on your back screen right there, on your back wall. Like, you have it there for a reason, because it's the people. Something that I think El Paso needs to change. I think we need to stop being so quick to criticize other people when they mess up.
Ooh, that's such a good one. Please expand.
And it's so easy to do that nowadays on social media. The moment someone messes up, we all act like we're perfect El Pasoans, like we've never done some of these things that people get called out on. One of the big popular ones was like blasting people, right? I don't want to name these pages because they're gonna come blast me now. But there are specific pages that were meant just to blast people. Oh, John got a DWI last night. Half the people on there have all drove drunk. The El Paso likes to drink. Let me tell you that. That's probably another issue. We got to stop driving drunk, El Paso.
Yes.
And that's honest. I'm being sincere about that one. So that I'd change it to that.
Oh no! Wait! The first one's really good.
All right. So yeah. So that'll be my second one. But the first one, yeah, just we gotta stop criticizing everybody. We gotta realize that we're all human. We're all learning. We're all gonna make mistakes. There's no age where you stop making mistakes. There is no age. And I think that a lot of people are realizing that through social media. We're seeing some people who are in their 70s who are still making mistakes. And I don't want to get specific with that, but people of all ages are making mistakes. We're human. Instead of breaking everybody down, let's build each other back up. Like, hey, you messed up this weekend, bro. You got blasted on social media. We're going to pick you back up. We know you're better than that. And now it's time to be better. And some people, they deserve it because they never grow and they never get better and they do stupid things on purpose, like drinking and driving, right? But it happens. But I think that's one thing that we do here. And I think it happens in every city, to tell you the truth, is that we're really quick to break each other down, but we're slow to support movements.
Wow.
Like this podcast is, you've had some phenomenal people on here. I don't know why I'm on here, but you've had some phenomenal people on here. The moment I saw it, follow. But I know there's someone out there who said, who does this El Paso on point person think he is? I'm not going to follow that page. Oh, they had Sin Cara on there? Like, you know what I mean? They're still looking. So I think we need to just stop breaking people down and start supporting each other more than ever before. And there are people on the flip side who are really good at showing support. Like I said, El Paso strong is a real thing.
Yeah, and I appreciate that so much because you're right, and it goes back to emotional intelligence.
Yeah, there we go.
It goes back to, as an adult, now you're this way because you were never supported. I can guarantee you, and I'm sure you know this, I have never, and any successful person, never, not only that has the time, because maybe I do have the time to hate, but I will never hate on anyone. I will never write anything negative. If maybe I think that, that person's stupid. That's it. That's my thoughts. And again, I try to understand. But you have to have that mindset, and hopefully it starts from young. But if not, there has to be a way to break the cycle. So hopefully they're able to first of all understand where are they at, meaning like, okay, maybe I do tend to be like that. Because if you ask anybody, everyone's gonna agree with what you just said, including myself. But then we go around, okay, who are those people? Pues quién sabe. Like, oh, espérate, we all agree that there's people out there, pero we cannot call ourselves out. So I'm like,
yeah, there you go.
That's another thing. Señor, again, thank you so much for spending some time. We've been on for a while. Have enjoyed our conversation. Yeah. Again, you are the perfect example of why we have this podcast, what we're trying to highlight. Definitely you're making an impact. Continue doing it. And is there anything if there's anything that I can assist you, please reach out always. But bueno, that's all I have. Thank you. Anything, señor? Yeah,
let me just end it with everything that I shared today came from a good place. It came from the heart. You don't have to agree with everything I said. It happens. We all have our own perspectives and our own viewpoints. But what I can tell you is that everything came from a good place in my heart. And I meant nothing with any ill intent. I didn't mean to offend anyone. If I said anything offensive, it happens. But take it from me that everything came from a good place. So don't beat me up too bad if you disagree with me. And if you do, let's have a talk about it and let's grow together.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for that. Adios. That's all I have.